Hello everyone, this is a recording for setting up a Docker environment for machine learning, Python learning, Hyperledger, or any scenario where you can use containers, especially Docker, to automate your lab environment where you can plan to do the development of machine libraries or hyperledger software rather than setting up the environment. So it's a very simple process of installing Docker and using already containers created by other users, so you can just do the development and forget about maintaining the containers. But you have to know the basics, and this is covering that basics. Now let's verify the first step. Install the Ubuntu latest. Yes, I have installed the latest Ubuntu, which is 18.04. Yes, in here. So let's open the terminal. So if you see, we got the Ubuntu latest kernel, and it's been updated on February 16th of 2018. Okay. If you see the date stamp over here, so we have verified that. Now let's come to the second point. Update and upgrade the Linux to the latest OS. The simple process of doing that is, in this system, my username right now is called as training, who is nothing but the root administrator. How to do that? Sudo -s and give the password for the training, and you are logged in as root. Now how to do the update? Apt get update to update the repositories, as in from where the latest version of the software will be downloaded. Now it's taking a bit of time because it's already been around 3 days, but yes, anyhow it's been downloaded. Some of the index has been failed. We do not worry about those ones. Okay, but now how to upgrade it, as in actual download from the repositories to update the actual software. When the update command only update the repository listing, whereas the upgrade will actually download the software already installed, what are the newer version, and install the new versions of the already installed software. So it is apt get update and then apt get upgrade. It is asking the permission to download it. Yes, we have given the permission. So while it's updating, let's verify the other commands. Okay, we have got add the Docker GPG for the repository for automatic download. What this means is, whenever you're downloading any containers from the Docker repository, which is hub.docker.com, we need the software to be installed with a verification that it's not been modified or tampered with. And to verify that signature, it is actually we are installing that GPG signature for the repository, which is over here, and then we add the Docker software from the repository. And when we do this update will be getting the Docker version from the docker.com rather than the Ubuntu repository, because Docker has two versions, Docker CE and Docker EE. Docker CE is the community edition, whereas EE is the enterprise edition. And guys, if you're not planning for a commercial grade deployment of containers, I would suggest Docker CE is one of the best softwares you need to install, because it can be handled by Kubernetes, Docker Swarm, or Docker Compose, because it's all these components are how to handle Docker in a very large way. But right now we are doing only very simple Docker, so let's not worry about it so much. But once we have got that, we are going to download the Docker CE, and after the Docker CE is installed, we will make sure the system control is Docker is verified, and we'll make sure the user mod. Every time you do a command, if you see here, we are giving for every command we are giving the sudo. We don't want to do the sudo every time we are starting a Docker, and if you don't give the sudo, the Docker containers will not run properly. During the previous session I held in the conference, this was one of the issues during the practical demonstration. So we'll make sure this permission is set properly so that the system will run properly without every time giving a sudo command. I assume the update has been done. Let's go and check it back. Yes, it's finally been done. So we have finished the first two steps of our documentation, which is making sure they're getting the latest Linux and then updating the Linux. Now let's create a non root administrator who will have the sudo permission. So let's do the command add user, and I'll give my name Manju, and for all my demo password it is capital A DMIN@123. And hence the username has been created. And now to give the permissions, sudo -a capital G sudo, okay, sorry, the command is user mod a sudo. So we are given the sudo permissions to the user Manjunath. Now we will log out and do all the other activities from the user Manju. So let's do it. Now let's verify that we do have sudo permission. Oh, cd. Okay, we do have sudo permission, so we don't have to worry about anything else. Now let's start doing the other commands now. Now first is downloading the permissions. Now to do that we have to make sure we do have sudo permissions. So sudo, okay, the spelling for some reason when you copy from the base system to the virtual machine is not working properly. So let's do one thing. Let's get the command from the official Docker website now. Okay, so let's do it as a fresh install. We'll not worry about this. So to install, we have done the apt update and all the software has already been installed, but if you want to verify it, let's do it. So if you see that software has already been installed when you do the apt update, and then see the command is exactly same what was in the notepad, but for some reason the command from the base system format to the virtualization format is not copying properly, so we are doing it in this format. There you go, it's done. Then make sure the signature certificate is verified. The signature has been verified now for the Docker release, and then because our Ubuntu is actually x86-64, if you remember our command uname -r all, you see our processor is a x86-64. Yes, guys, if you're doing the same thing, it's good. Otherwise, please do make sure the correct version is actually selected in your command repository. So we are taking the correct command for the x86 64, and the correct Docker library has been added to the repository. Now to make sure the repository is updated, sudo and finally it's been done. Let's download our Docker C now. Our Docker C software is around 182 MB, so the voice might go quite for a while because it's downloading the Docker software. So let's do that. Now let's go back to the base system to see our documentation. Yes, we have done up to this point, which is apt-get docker install -i docker c. Then yes, we'll check the status by doing the system control. There you go. In the system control, if you see here, the Docker is active, running. Congratulations, you have now started the Docker software successfully running in Linux. But Docker is just a container maintaining service. What is the actual systems you run is the Docker containers, which you can install, such as Ubuntu, Hello World, which we'll be looking in right now. So once this is done, let's go back to the base system. Yes, instead of every time, okay, one of the things when in the last demo I did was people are having issues if they don't type sudo, the service would not start properly, as in the Docker container would not work properly or download properly. Yes, so for that reason we'll make sure that this current user has the correct Docker permissions. So we are gonna copy this and paste it here. So we are given the user mode the permission of Docker to the current user, and then apply the permission by doing the sudo verify using the id ng. So let's do that. su minus, let's copy the command itself, easier than typing. Spelling mistakes. Manju's got the sudo for the Docker, which is very well perfect. Now to make sure the settings, we can only log in and log out. I will just for safer purposes, I'm just restarting my VM. Now if you see, we have got the correct permission, verify it by doing, we already done the id space minus n capital G to verify the permission, and we've got the permission. Now the next thing is up to your imagination. This is the setup done, and now to do a very simple Docker pull, as in get a container and start the container. It's a very simple. If you want to get the commands of Docker, the command is docker, and you get the whole menu of what are the different commands you got for Docker. Okay, for the Docker, these are all the different commands. Now for example, you want to get a sub command. Okay, for example, Docker pull. Now you want the sub commands of the pull. So this is the command for the sub command for the pull. And if you start a server which is container which is already downloaded, and you want the all the options for that, you got so many options for the start. Okay, interactive IT will be looking at all those things. Right now let's do a download of a Ubuntu system and start it. So docker search Ubuntu. I'll make the command line full screen so it will be more clear for you when the output comes. Docker search Ubuntu. Now if you see this, we have ourselves registered for hub.docker.com. In hub.docker.com there is so many different type of Ubuntu. Now if you want a specific version, as in one-on-one internet's Ubuntu 16 health check, you can say docker pull that name. And if you don't give anything specific, for example, right now the Ubuntu is the latest one, is the topmost one right now, which is the official. Okay, now if you want that one or the latest version which is in the database of the hub.docker.com, it's very simple. Docker pull Ubuntu. Now they will have a tag attached for latest, so it will pull the latest Ubuntu from the hub.docker.com, which is around 57 MB. So let's wait for that. As we see here, it's only around 43 MB. And there you go, the Ubuntu has been pulled into a local repository. Now to start it, docker minus I, which is interactive as we saw earlier, and T is nothing but open a telnet TTY terminal. Okay, start Ubuntu. Okay, there's something wrong. Let me check it out. What is it? I'm just downloading the cheat sheet so it can be permanently saved over here. So there you go. Run. Okay, I had given the options reverse, so that was the minus point. So let's go back and do it correctly. Docker run minus it Ubuntu. Now if you see, this is the command line of our Docker. Okay, if you see, our Linux command line is this, whereas the Docker command line, the Docker Ubuntu command line is this. Now if you type exit, like in normal system, the exit will close the command line only, and because this is a container, it shuts down the container. So if you don't want to shut down the container and you want to come out of the container, it is shift PQ, and you are out of the container now. Oh, sorry, PQ. Sorry, it is control PQ. And once we are here, you want to list all the processes. Now docker, if you see here, list all the containers. So to list all the containers, docker ps, and if you see right now the container ID, if you see the command line which opened, which was ending with a 421, okay, if you see here, the container ID is actually ending with a 421. So the container which we are running is container ID this thing, the image is Ubuntu, and the functionality we are running inside Ubuntu is called as bin bash. It was created around 1 minute ago. The state is not there and there's no ports open, but yes, this is a name. If you wanted to give a name, you could have given docker run -t ubuntu space dash dash name, and you could have given a name for our software. Okay, so if you wanted to give the name, you had to specify it manually, but anyhow, I just want to show you how to get back into the docker. So how to do it? Docker attach, and we give the name Fervent Newton, but if you don't know, always help. Okay, what is the string? Okay, so docker attach there you go, you are back into the content. And now if you type the exit, I'll just show it here. Exit actually shuts down the container. How do you prove that? The previous command of docker ps, and if you see, there's no containers running right now. So again, let's do the same thing. Start Ubuntu name 3f. Okay, name. Okay, we'll not worry about the name, but at least you know how to create a docker, get into the docker, and get out of the docker as in a background by doing the control PQ, and if you do the exit command, it shuts down the docker. With this, we are finishing this basic video. In the next video, we'll show you how to install different docker images specifically for YAML and specifically for Hyperledger. For Hyperledger, we'll see what is the download size and then decide on the video length. But anyhow, with this is the end of the video number 1. Thanks for watching and thanks for your patience.